Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, everyone. Morning. Welcome to Coffee Moaning, Saturday morning, the 1st of June. My God, the 1st of June. And
everyone.
that's Nabs in the background making as much noise as possible right next to the camera.
Morning.
Hello.
How are you all? Just
Aw.
over here cooking.
How are we all? How is everyone? How are you all doing? It's the newspapers, not the snooze papers. Obviously, the big news last night is the possibility of there being a ceasefire agreement or some kind of cessation or stop or pause to the hostilities in Gaza. But I'm going to sort of unpack some of that. It's not so obviously that wasn't in the papers because that was happening quite late last night. We were in fact having supper with Betty and Teddy, and the news was breaking. And I've got a couple of things to say about that: hopes, fears, worries, and predictions. But let's talk first and foremost about the most orange man on the planet, because he's angry. He's not happy. He's bigly angry. He's bigly cross, and he's calling people devils, and people have been literally crucified. So on the front of the Mirror, deluded, deranged, and dangerous felon. I mean, the relish with which everyone is writing felon Trump rails at migrants in diatribe against justice. This was a 40-minute rant that he started yesterday. I have to say, for all of the things about Donald Trump, I mean, Matthew Wright was talking about this on LBC this morning, saying, can't stand him, don't like him, don't agree with the thing that he represents, but find him incredibly not entertaining in a sort of giving him a sort of, a pass, but he just finds it hysterical. It's like watching a train crash. Not that that's ever fun, if you know what I mean. A safe train crash. But anyway, so he was there standing yesterday. He was moaning about people's cars. He was talking about devils. He was talking about, as they say here, migrants. It was an unfair trial. It was so unfair. He was such a conflicted judge, more conflicted than anyone who's been conflicted in conflict ever. His use of the word conflict, but he didn't sound as...
It's like it's a new word he's learned.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep saying, when a kid finds a new word.
Yeah, he gets one or two new words.
Saying it.
He gets one or two new words and he won't stop saying it. He's the most intensely conflicted judge. Conflicted. They were literally crucified. When he uses the word literally, it's quite something. Reese Roberts, I'm surprised he's not showing off. He got all 34 counts. The first time he's got 100% in his whole life.
Never been done before.
Yeah, I've never got so many.
Never been achieved.
I've never. Did you hear him at one point? In one point in his speech, he said he tried to. You could hear him start with a thought, a narcissistic thought, and then he began to realize in what he was saying that he didn't want to sort of present himself as weak. He was like any other normal person over the age of 80 or 70, whatever he is, would get sympathy, but not for me. No one's giving me sympathy. And then he pauses and he goes, but maybe then I wouldn't want it. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe that's not what I need. It's like, what the fuck is going on, Trump? Donald, get a grip. Anyway, it's just petrifying, isn't it? So just going off on a tangent, I can't help but feel that Donald Trump getting done for 34 counts, 100% across the board, home run, has increased, as he quoted, his popularity. He was great. He was very keen to go. Has anyone reads the Daily Mail?
Yeah, but I mean,
the Daily Mail's
poll.
Yeah, the Mail's poll was simply that he's 6% more. There were 6% more people liked him a little bit. It really wasn't profound. But the point is that it doesn't look good in America. It doesn't look good in America. His popularity hasn't been dented. I mean, the point that they're making here is American politics are split down. They've got such a cleft down the middle that neither has this brought people over, but weirdly, neither has it thrown people away. So he could well be in prison and he could well be president. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I do wonder, does anyone else wonder whether the sudden emergence on the day that Donald Trump is prosecuted, becoming more popular, or certainly not becoming less popular, on the same day Biden throws out this missive that there's a peace deal on the table. Take it. Now, again, we've said it many times. It's great that everything is moving. We want everything to move in that direction, but there have to be caveats because, of course, you have to work out how this is going to happen. Who's conning who? Why has Netanyahu suddenly gone from rabid, if he has gone from rabid to not rabid? And what's at work in the background? Now, what's interesting, this is going to drive Nadia nuts, I know it is. It was the first time last night I saw a publicized comment from Barack Obama.
No! He's finally said something.
No, but hang on. Backing up Biden's sort of basically gauntlet on the table saying, here's the deal, take it. Lots of observers of the deal are saying it's the same deal that Hamas agreed to and then Israel didn't. Biden's saying it's Israel's deal on the table. There seems to be soundings in Israel that it's not quite Netanyahu's deal. So let's imagine it's going to be going nuts there. But what really disappointed me about Barack Obama, and I'm sorry, it does disappoint me, I couldn't help but feel when I suddenly saw Barack Obama come out at the same time as all of this, this felt like a very stage-managed shot in an election. It didn't feel like they were actually once again having what was required or needed and what was at stake here. That wasn't center stage. It felt opportunistic. It felt selective. Its timing felt cynical. Now, of course, everyone wants there to be a peace deal, but it just struck me as odd that the one time we hear Obama, and we could have done with Obama much earlier in the total travesty of what's happened. And that's not to say he hasn't in some areas, but it hasn't been publicized. It hasn't been talked about. I just felt yesterday, is this more a political gambit? It would work for Biden brilliantly if he could bring any suggestion of a deal now.
For the Democrats.
And I just think, and I worry that Obama stepping in to support Biden, this is all Democrat stuff. This is Democrat stuff coming off the back of Republican stuff. And yet at the heart of it, you are genuine. So Hamas have said they're responding positively to it. Israel is saying we're kind of getting mixed mood music coming out of Israel. You know, I think the devil is in the detail. And I think clearly, you know, Hamas want everyone gone out of Gaza, and Israel has. I mean, the one thing that I think Netanyahu has actually said today is the same line: "We're not leaving till we're done." So there are many sentences being said that don't tally with the deal that's on the table. Nothing in the deal is new. Nothing in the deal is new, and that also kind of flicked up a red flag yesterday when it came through. We were sitting with Teddy. We were talking a lot about the region, about the history, about the future, about the outcome, about what the future looks like. And it just, the whole thing it just felt from the Biden, you know, Biden's been quiet for 4 days and you sort of wonder, you know, I know he's been sort of, I think it's the anniversary tragically of the death of one of his children. But I think I couldn't help but feel there was just a bit of strategy here, Now, of course, you want Obama supporting this and you want Obama chiming from the same subject, and we want everyone working towards a peace deal. I just find the selective timing cynical. And they're politicians. They're all politicians, you get me? It's interesting. There was an interesting piece just quickly on Trump on the radio saying what accounts for his popularity. Forget the rabid popularity. What accounts for his popularity? Because he has to be appealing to not just the nutters. He must be appealing to a lot of other people too. And I think one of the things that people really like about him, and one has to hear this in order to kind of deal with it, is that he's not seen, even though he's been president, he's not seen as what they call a careerist, lifelong politician. And I think the feeling, and I think we feel it in this country, and we have to understand this, that politicians don't really tell us the truth. They don't talk to us. They don't listen to us. And they obstruct and they hide things. And they begin to demonstrate almost an administrative approach to absolutely everything. And so I think, you know, obviously the choice then is do you flip to the left, do you flip to the right in your political choices? We would flip to the left. Many people have flipped towards Trump. I think, you know, like Bernie Sanders, for example, everything he said during, you know, once he started saying stuff, I've totally agreed with. So it's not about saying he shouldn't have, you know, it's all great. Everyone's saying the right things at the right time, but we have to be mindful. What is this about? What is this about? Is this actually about the American election, or is it actually about, you know, poor families on the ground in Gaza? So anyway, so of course the front of the papers, Trump raging at Biden's fascist state. This is the reason I also pulled this. Trump rages at Biden's fascist state. We're in such an odd place in the world, aren't we? Where white supremacists work with Zionists or support Zionists. You have a guy who's kind of appealed at times to his white, let's face it, white supremacist core, who are fascists, describing America and Biden as fascists. I think we've lost the language a bit here. We've kind of lost what we mean by all these things. And it is odd. I mean, there is a kind of confusion that's crept into politics. I think a lot of people struggle with the idea that you could be Israeli and incredibly right-wing and white supremacist and racist. I remember I was saying the other day to someone, I remember being absolutely heartbroken during the miners' strike in the 80s when I saw someone who was, I don't think Arthur Scargill, it was him himself, but I remember someone saying something, they were really racist. And I was like, turned to my mum and I went, but he's Labour. And she said, yeah, you can be Labour and be a racist. I was left wing, and I was so shocked. I had this kind of weird idea. You grow up, don't you? Yeah, I had this weird idea that if you were Labour, you were kind of moral, and it was just like everyone was equal. It didn't matter about colour, race. Blah, blah. I was like, oh, and of course we know that's the case because that's how Brexit split. This kind of. Can I just briefly? I don't want to mention the B word, but why shouldn't we? Why the fuck is no one mentioning Brexit in the election? It was brilliant on the radio again.
Well, that's true.
Why is no one mentioning Brexit? Something else that makes me despise Starmer is: is everyone in this room just pretending that is the elephant in the room is going to remain that most of our economic woes is because we can't do fucking anything, or everything costs more? It's like we're pretending this massive seismic change in our country hasn't had an impact. Weird. Anyway, so moving through the headlines. A country split in two. Trump's backers call for violence. This is the worry. Could we be watching Civil War, the film, come to life? Do you think it could happen?
In his speech when he came out, he was trying himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Where is there incitement and where is there the expression of frustration? I mean, he described his judge as a devil. As a demon, America as hell. I mean, Trump has the Ku Klux Klan in his corner, which is why he's often evaded questions, but he calls Biden fascist. It's all so fucked up. It's like everyone needs to go back to fucking school and just do the basics. What's communist? What's fascist? And then it gets confusing because then communism is in China has been given a capitalist. Yeah, it is a mess. I mean, it's quite hard to get hold of. So maybe we'll give him a pass on that. Maybe he just doesn't know what a fascist is. I mean, I think maybe, we should take some heart from it. Maybe the fact that he can identify fascism even for a moment outside of himself means that he can in no way consider himself to be a fascist, which maybe is even more. Did you get me? Enter the mind of Donald Trump. You never come out. Meanwhile, Boris Johnson chucks his two pennyworth in. This was a machine gun mob style hit job on Trump. It was nakedly political and will make his victory more likely, not less. Right. I don't like Boris, but I agree. I don't necessarily think it was a machine gun mob style hit, but I do think that and I've said it from the get-go, the thing you do to a narcissist is ignore them. And if everyone had ignored Trump, he'd have faded away like a three-legged mahogany table. But he hasn't. He's been put center stage. And you know what? The weird thing is he hasn't had to do a single thing to launch his election campaign. No. He hasn't had to spend a penny. Hasn't had to spend a penny. He's been there outside the court. He's mobilizing. All of this is off the back of that. And, he's raised $34 million since being found guilty. $34 million. It's people are piling the money in. The stage is set for all sorts of stuff in America. But this isn't.
What did Keir Starmer say about him? Are we going to have trouble?
Yeah, well, Keir Starmer, David Lammy and Keir Starmer have said, we'll work with him they kind of have to say that. Yeah. But then you ask the question, do they have to say that?
No, but did they slag him off before? Are they going to have an embarrassing?
I think there's going to have to be someone somewhere who's slagged him. Mind you, I think Keir Starmer is so frighteningly administrative and bureaucratic that I think he possibly hasn't. Do you know what I mean? He's so careful. He's so boring. Oh, it's change. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. We've got some funny photos coming. But here's the interesting detail. We're getting into the sort of lighter stuff now. The Secret Service, because he was a president, he's allowed to have Secret Service personnel around him for the rest of his life. He will have protection for the rest of his life. So the Secret Service chiefs are now having to negotiate how they will protect him in prison if he goes to prison.
Oh my God.
So we have this really curious situation where they're already talking about the fact that when he needs his exercise in the yard, this is what they're talking about. He will have to have his exercise on his own. But they're having to work out a way of doing this in a way that the optics on it don't mean that they then end up getting lawsuits from everyone else in the prison saying we haven't been given as much time as Trump. But they also are duty bound to protect him. So he will have he will have a cell. But the idea is that if he has a cell in a proper prison, it's unlikely he will. But if they go to that, they're having to prepare for every eventuality. Yeah, as if Trump exercises, says Erin. Sorry, I know there's a bit of cross chat going on. We're just going to keep it to the stories as we go. But yeah, so the idea is if he's in prison, they will have to have a cell too. Or will there be cellmates? Will he be in there with his protection? But it's more likely that he'll be put on probation. It won't come to that. He'll get an ankle bracelet, which I'm sure he'll show a lot. We've talked about the peace talks. Okay, so moving through all of this news, the headlines. So this is a biggie. Saliva test set to revolutionize detection of prostate cancer. A simple saliva test that can identify men who are most at risk is set to turn the tide on the disease. This is because the tests that doctors often do, the blood tests, often bring up false positives. And this looks like a test that will actually be more accurate. It seems so strange, doesn't it? But it looks like it's going to be like one of those tests that, like the bowel cancer test that you can do at home. You can do it yourself. And hopefully it will remove the need for unnecessary biopsies. That's the thing they're looking for. And again, I know there's the debate about male versus female cancers and research, et cetera, but I wonder whether maybe because men are pretty damn simple as beasts, maybe the prostate is much simpler to kind of just swab it, check it, and know it. But I think anything that helps with any cancer is good. This chap here, just election chat just for a moment. I'm really unhappy about this guy, Luke Akehurst. Non-Jewish Zionist supporter of Israel. We talked about it yesterday as Keir Starmer purges or makes it just uncomfortable for anyone on the left of the party or anyone who isn't sort of signing up to his Tory light agenda. This chap is being shunted into the North Durham safe seat. He's known in the Labour Party for describing Israel's actions as proportionate. He's a defender of Israel. He is head of, what's the name of the organization that he's head of? It's We Believe in Israel. And whilst he's non-Jewish, he's a wholly committed Zionist. He's campaigned to stand in solidarity with Israel throughout the conflict. So there's been no moment at which his conscience or his morals have been in doubt. Now, the reason this is important and why it's outrageous and why it's another reason I won't be voting Labour is the chatter is that he's quite bullish, is that he's going to possibly be a chief whip. Now, what is a chief whip? A chief whip in any party, certainly the party of government, is the guy who threatens, corrals, bullies, and ensures that voters who are wavering vote the way that Keir Starmer wants to. I've got a horrible feeling that secretly Starmer is quite an autocrat. I've got this. He's like, I tell you what he's got. He's got the eyes of a shark when they're just swimming. And when they go in for the bite, the eyes show no more expression than they did as they were swimming. It's frightening. I've seen it. I've had to punch a shark in the face. This is a sort of slightly more light-hearted part of the election news. This is Ian Dale, LBC presenter. He was going to run as a Conservative candidate for Tunbridge Wells. But then, get this, the Liberal Democrat Party discovered that he'd said some years ago, I've never liked living in Tunbridge Wells. So he immediately cancelled his campaign. He said, I realise now that I can't run. Now they've discovered that I said this. I've lived here 27 years. Of course, it was a throwaway statement, he says. But he now knows that he can't run because, as he said, the Liberal Democrats I wasn't really punching a shot, honestly. He said that he knows the Lib Dems will just put flyers through everyone's door saying the Conservative candidate doesn't like it here. It's kind of bad. I mean, if you're going to run for candidacy, it's like you've got to vaguely like where you're running for. In other news, the pop group Dream, oh God, things can only get better. They say they won't let Labour use our anthem again, says Dream. They were massively traumatised to hear it being played at the end of Downing Street when Rishi called a general election. And he said it was just so frustrating that it's once again it's used. Now, fair cop to the band, Dream, because of course it was Tony Blair who used it mercilessly. And they said, we will not let them use it again because we were so profoundly unhappy with Tony Blair and the whole Iraq war, the dodgy dossier. I was saying to Nads this morning, given everything we now know, given how awake we have become, wouldn't it be fascinating to go back to that time and just try and sift through the bullshit that was being trotted around? I mean, literally, total lies. I mean, quite something for regime change. You'd vote for Blair again, me too. I suppose my struggle with the idea of a Labour Party that shifts more and more central in order to win power is, at what point do you have your beliefs and your ideas and you try and tell the population, and at what other point do you just keep hovering? I mean, I know a lot of people are saying that, a centre-left, centre Labour Party is great, but, on different topics and in different areas, I don't find them centre-left. I don't find them centre. They just, and I found it happens with all parties that get into power, though, a certain arrogance and cocksure. We've seen it, haven't we, here? And, the last thing I'm saying is I don't want Labour in. I also don't want the Tories in. I feel absolutely unrepresented by either. But I think I know what the Conservatives are. I have always known what the Conservatives are. But the Labour Party really, I really hate it when they pretend they're one thing, but they're something else. That's the bit that gets me.
Because how can you trust them?
I don't know how. I can't trust a man. I can't trust a man who says Israel isn't an apartheid. I can't. He's a human rights lawyer. I'm sorry. I just can't trust him at all.
Or the regime has the right to turn the water off.
Yeah.
That's the one I can never forgive.
Okay, fan sues Madonna over exposing him to pornography without warning at concert. What do you think? I feel I have a very simple message for this fan. So he goes to a Madonna concert, knowing that what she is, who she is, how she is. She likes to shock and all that kind of stuff. And you are seriously going to sue because pornography was presented to you without warning at concert. Now, as this piece says, he claims that concert goers were forced to watch topless women simulating sex acts. Now, I'm presuming there's always an age limit, isn't there, on these gigs for kids? Dawny Harvey, let me pop your comment up. It's just wonderful. It's simple. It's effective. It's pithy. Has this fan lived under a mushroom? Dawny, you should have a book, Dawny, of your little sort of aphorisms. You should go through all our content, find them all. And if you made that into a book and it was next to the till in foils, I'd buy it. You're right. What the fuck is he doing at a Madonna concert? You're going to get tits, you're going to get dildos, you're going to get conical breasts, you're going to get all sorts of simulated action. The other week they had, what's the name of that singer? Is he Spanish? Is he? Oh my God. He got an erection on stage. Oh, what's his name? Ricky Martin.
He did.
He got an erection on stage because I bet. Yeah.
I was right next to him.
Yeah, did something prod you on the shoulder? Was he pleased to see you?
Oh.
He did. No, they were dancing and they were lap dancing. He clearly got an erection. Anyway, I mean, you don't go. It's like, I tell you what, this really annoys me.
Do you always know when you're getting an erection?
Yes, you know. If you don't know when you're getting an erection, you're usually off your head on something. Yes. I tell you what this speaks to. I always find it really amusing when Nadia gets a comment under one of her posts, or I do, or we on the channel, saying how much they don't like something. And you're thinking, A, why have you come here if you know you don't like us? B, if you know what we're like, you know you're going to get offended. And C, you've actually, in your boring days, spent the time writing this to someone you don't like. Someone said to Nadia yesterday, I'm going to block you. I'm not going to follow you. She went to have a look.
You're no fun.
We went, you're no fun. Went and had a look. No, they hadn't. No, they hadn't. They're ineluctably drawn to us like moths. Some poor fuckers. Anyway, get a life. Don't sue Madonna. I'm not a big fan of Madonna, but she's going to get her tits out and they're going to have sex on stage. Just know it. All right? 1066 and all what? 1066.
My daughter just came in and had a drink and was joking. I had to run out listening to you.
All right. 1066 and all what? I'm now going to ask you some questions about dates. And I want to know if any of you can get these right. Sorry, Matt. So here we go. Here's some questions. Do you know your dates? The Daily Mail is saying that all adults in this country could fail their history test. Which year did the Battle of Hastings take place? We know that. It's 1066. Yeah. All right. Who was the winner and who was the loser of the Battle of Hastings? Got that one? Do you know that one? The winner was William the Conqueror. And the loser was, of course, the guy who got the bloody arrow in the eye, wasn't it? It was King Harold. So in which years, this is a hard one, would anyone know this? In which years was Stonehenge believed to have been constructed? Between which years? Would you know exactly? I think we'd all strike at like 300,000 to 3 million, 2,000, 5,000. Anyone got any idea on that? Victoria Moore did fail history. Yeah. William did win. Was it William of Orange? Was it William the Conqueror? Was he William of Orange? Dates, it was between 3000 BC and 2500 BC. Does anyone else, when you look at timelines, get really confused like we did in maths by minus numbers? So when you look at that, you go between 3000 and 2000, and then you start to go, which way are we going? Which way are we going in history? If that was before Christ, and then you think, what were they calling it before Christ, before they knew Christ was Christ? They weren't calling it BC back then. They didn't know Christ was coming.
Is everybody okay?
So there was no year. If there was no year and no time was being charted, how do they know anything? Anyway, sorry, that's a bit of an existential one. Okay, in which years did World War I take place? Got that one? Did I say it was 3000 to 2500 BC? In which years did World War I take place? I think that's quite... Zoe, what the fuck are you on about, Mark? 1914 to 18. Trick question, this one. What carried the Black Death? And it wasn't Dina's farts. That's all I'm going to say. What carried the Black Death? Time as a man-made construct in a flat circle. Reese. Oh my God, my brain's just literally gone. Fleas on rats, Erin. You covered all bases there. I said rats, but it's fleas. Which group or organization was responsible for building Hadrian's Wall? You know it. I know it. We all know it. The Romans. And finally, what year did the Great Fire of London take place? Do you know this one? It's interesting. So many things in this country happened in 66. So it's 1066, Battle of Hastings. 1666, the Great Fire. 1966, we won the World Cup. There you go. There's all your answers if you need them. Quickly, flashed up on the screen. Roman baths bubbling with antibiotics can beat E. coli. That's right. If you go down the baths tonight in Bath and have a scrape around with a spatula in the crevices, you could get some stuff that will protect you from E. coli. So apparently this speaks to the idea that baths were medicinal. Nadia and all her family, they love all that stuff, you know, the kind of baths, the medicinal baths, taking of waters, yeah, all that stuff. They were right. The Romans were right. They introduced, basically, they're saying, yes, Jennifer Lopez, tour is off. Big news amid Ben Affleck's split reports. Nadia's been reporting on this weekly. They're in trouble, they say. They're in trouble. Well, apparently, yes, they are saying that she has cancelled her tour, and she's cancelled a whole tour. That's not like a few dates. But from what I've heard, unfortunately, and rather tragically, it's because she hasn't sold many tickets. So, of course, people are speculating that, is this because it's all over? I saw a really interesting chat, actually, with Ben Affleck yesterday, talking about how much he doesn't like being in the spotlight. And then when I was listening to him, it wasn't a Hollywood star pretending. I could see it was real, and I think that's possibly why he has a massive drinking problem, or has had a massive drinking problem.
Sober.
He is sober, but you can see he really struggles with it. He really struggles with it.
But why would you marry Jennifer Lopez? He loves her.
Maybe he loves her.
I mean, what a donut.
Well, yeah. Why marry Jennifer Lopez? I mean, why not? Why not marry Jennifer Lopez? Has anyone seen that film? whatever it's called, the recent one. Listen up. Oh, this is a good one. There's a young adult in the kitchen. How the cocktail party effect could be putting your hearing at risk. So the cocktail. Has anyone else here struggled with the cocktail party effect? If you saw Nadia at Boots recently having an ear test, she had to identify words within the hubbub of other people talking. And apparently what they're saying is Gen Zers, those born between 1997 and 2012, which is our kiddos, they have the worst cocktail party effect hearing of any generation. And this speaks to a very real thing that what was he? What was he? What do you do with ears?
Audiologist.
The audiologist was saying that the generation coming through, because of their use of headphones, at a sort of higher level and just using headphones more and more often than we ever used to. I mean, when we used to have Walkman, it was those fluffy things that sat on the outside, weren't they? But because these go right in. Anyway, the younger generations are struggling to hear in busy, crowded areas. A higher level of headphone use amongst the youngest age group is thought to be the key reason for why 18 to 24-year-olds are claiming in increasing numbers that they struggle to follow conversations in loud places. I've always struggled. I always used to find all bar one. Are there still all bar ones? I used to find all bar one. The acoustics were so horrendous.
Wood. I mean,
no. This wasn't wood. This was metal. And so I'd meet Fleur's mum at all bar one on Wardour Street regularly, and she'd say, "Let's meet at all bar one." And I'd go, "Can we go somewhere else?" She'd say, "Why?" Because I can't fucking hear a thing. The sound. So what you're hearing? The girls always have a go at me because I've got really loud earphones in when I'm editing your vlogs, because I'm getting the music balance right. It is quite loud. I didn't know. Young adults are adjusting to life in the slow lane, according to the Times. Young lady called, let me pop her up, a young lady called what's her name? Adriana Tudorak, 100,000 followers on YouTube. Tips for slow living. Do you want to hear they are? Let's talk through them. Limit your screen time. Boring. Focus on developing new or existing hobbies such as reading, gardening, or cooking. I like being on my phone. Allocate time to learn what you do and don't like. I like being on my phone. Reduce your social circle so that you spend quality time with those that mean the most to you rather than spreading yourself thin. I just keep in touch with them all on phone. Declutter your home. No, I watch other people doing that on my phone. Spend time in nature every day. Can't afford to, but watch other people doing it all the time. Try to be asleep by 10 p.m. Can't because I can't find my charger. Sounds like a miserable life, Maddie just said. Totally agree. I'm not going to do that story because it doesn't make any sense. It's about traumatized dogs. I read it and it still made no more sense. I felt like, by the end of it, a traumatized dog. Brexit saved our smoky bacon, says the Sun. Now, talking of Brexit, everyone was banging on about the fact that one of the greatest things about Brexit is that we can have smoky bacon crisps. But guess why Europe didn't want us to have smoky bacon crisps?
Are they bad for us?
Because they give us cancer.
Oh my God.
So, but hey, we can now give ourselves cancer. Exfusive, says the Sun, rather than exclusive. I do like that. Brexit saved our smoky bacon. We dodge EU crisp ban. But Eurocrats have now confirmed that 8 methods of adding artificial smoke flavourings to snack foods, including potato crisps, will be phased out. I'm so pleased we did Brexit. I was worried about where the smoky bacon crisp was. My mum loved these. These were her favourite. Yeah, Mum, everything you've been into is bad for you, and yet you're still walking. Well, you're not really, are you? Let's face it. Kids taking Angelina's side. Oh, this is the pits.
Oh my.
Her name is the Pits. Second Brad daughter ditches surname. So it's now just Vivian Jolie and Shiloh Jolie rather than Shiloh. There you go. Shiloh Jolie Pitt and Vivian Jolie Pitt. It's not looking good for Brad, is it? His kids don't like him. His ex-wife doesn't like him. Probably his father-in-law does like him.
Still likes him.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston likes him. That's good.
Good mate.
Passe Doble Cross. What the fuck is this about? Traitors stars for Strictly. Oh, God. That means my mum will have double win-win. She loves Strictly and she loves the Traitors. Yeah, the BBC wants a star from the hit show The Traitors to be in Strictly. And it looks like Molly Pierce is the front runner. That'd be kind of good. I think they should get Molly Pierce and him in. Harry, was it? The naughty one. Thanks, Tracy Stott. Beach strife. Protests hot up in Mallorca. This is quite serious, actually, so I'm not going to take the piss. Bosses fear over tourists. Now, this is a tricky one. Lots of places in Europe where there are tourists, which keep the local industries going, and if they weren't there would be no industries and no tourists and no business. But lots of local people are saying it's got too far. It's gone too far. We're hearing lots of stories of workers in Ibiza having to live in shanty towns in car parks. And there are big protests in Palma, in Mallorca. And lots of tourists are now sort of avoiding going or are phoning up small firms like boat companies saying, is it safe? Is it safe? I think a balance needs to be struck. I think there does need to be a balance because, I mean, I suppose when you go to your beach and you're throwing your towel at a sun lounger, you don't want to be attacked, do you, by a very angry local grandmother saying, leave our beaches alone. It just sort of kind of takes the kind of whole thing out. But there's something in it, you know. We've overused everything. I got rid of the Pope. Oh, this is a vitally important story from the Daily Star. They've obviously got they had a headline recently saying something like "kill toxic caterpillars." Anyway, clearly the Daily Star has been hit by the insect lobby, of which I'm not making light. Insects are creatures and should be treated nicely. But they've had to publish this headline: "Hug a toxic caterpillar." Yep, hug a toxic caterpillar. Wildlife experts are locked in a caterpillar war over plans to wipe out the toxic creepy crawlies with insecticide. They should actually be looking after them, and they shouldn't be getting rid of them. Again, terrible tug of war. At what point did a slug or a snail in the garden become something to be cherished? Because when I go out and I look at those plants that I've planted, like my tomatoes that all started and have gone, I want to kill every fucking snail in the garden. I don't care, but I won't, because I love snails. I love all living things.
You see, there's people that stay out at night
protecting snails.
To kill them.
Yeah,
because they're going to ruin all their crop.
It's your snails, man. It's not a snail's fault, is it, that when they walk around they leave shit everywhere? Poor thing. Poor thing. This is the story of my life. Night kiss is a miss. Only 47% of people get a peck before they fall asleep because their other half is on the phone. Nah, this is you. Giving your partner a kiss goodnight is falling out of fashion as we're all seduced by our smartphones.
You wake up and the first thing you do is get your phone.
Yeah,
you look at me and say,
because the first thing I'm looking for is peace in the Middle East. I am. It's like fucking hell. It's not here, and then we get on with the day and have to deal with it. Sorry. This photo just made me smile. Oh, bless. If you were listening on podcast, this is a really annoying moment because I'm not going to tell you what it is. So you'll have to come and watch. Everyone's excited in this household by this new story. It's Love Island, and contestant Patsy is ready to shine. Get this, contestant Patsy is ready to shine because she's going to be raising awareness of her rare arm nerve condition. That wasn't the headline I was expecting to read, but it's a good one. Patsy Fields said she will be strutting her stuff on Love Island despite her herbs palsy. It's a thing. The dating show contestant 29 revealed producers have gone out of their way to make sure she is comfortable in the Mallorca villa. She says that going on dates have not initially noticed her condition. It doesn't affect how they view me as a love interest. And in fact, there was that interesting, did anyone see the love triangle? There was that really, really tender and really moving romance that sort of developed between that young girl, wasn't there? And the chap, but then she went off and had an affair.
Yeah,
it wasn't tender. It was tender, and it was just. And one of her issues was she had part of her hand was missing, and it was just that was the acceptance of that and the not noticing. It was lovely. So this is good. So this starts on Monday. Oh my god! You know what that means, guys? I'm down a pub, drinking Diet Coke with the local pig. With this, the pig's dead. No, I'm giving no context to anything. Yeah, the pig is. Put it this way:
the pig's name was Francis Bacon.
The pig's name was Francis Bacon, and it's now dead. So it gives you. With this wing, I be wed. Groom arranges for 4 penguins to deliver the bride's ring. Again, if you're listening on podcast, this is a really frustrating moment. Because here's some really sweet images of a bride and groom, and there's a penguin running around, and there's a penguin with a bucket with a ring in it, and then there's 2 penguins going, "Have you got a fish? I want to eat it." Oh, I love penguins. I love penguins. And did you know that the brand of penguin spelled Adderley is called Adderley? There you go. ABBA. Any fans of ABBA? Look at this photograph of them all together. They look deeply disturbing to me. Thank you for the music. They've all been honoured in a sort of with knighthoods by the Swedish royal family. Look at them all. Healthy living. Waterloo. Knighting me, knighting you. Aha. Spitfires, the tragic story last week of a Spitfire crashing and the pilot dying. Spitfires have been grounded for D-Day anniversary. I just wanted to show a photo because my granddad loved Spitfires, always wanted to be a Spitfire pilot, went into training, and then because of an issue with one of his eyes, he couldn't do it. So I've always had a soft spot for the old Spitfire. This cartoon is fun. He's still running. For those of you listening, this is a cartoon of Donald Trump in the shower with other men in prison, naked, and on the floor is the orange permatan as it sort of sprinkles down the drain. And what else have we got? Oh, and Trump steak. Someone obviously made themselves a steak, and it looks just like him. I want to know if, honestly, I'd like to find the photographer or ask the photographer, say, did you really not push the fat at the top down a bit? I've never seen a piece of meat look so like the profile of a major politician in my life. That is, Nadia, look at this just quickly. This is remarkable. This is gobsmacking. You know when you see a saint in something?
Oh my God.
What? And then just like Trump. And for have I still got some more? Yeah, general erection fever. As you know, I'm running my general erection fever campaign. There's Rishi Sunak looking like Mickey Mouse, and this was interesting actually. Great photo to get on the day that he said he's going to remove all Mickey Mouse degrees. And there he is, photographed with two things behind him, making him look like Mickey Mouse. But he's a cross between Mickey Mouse and Roland Rat. Then we have Rishi Sunak, very excited as he's discovered something vaguely positive about his campaign. Maybe that with glasses on, he can see the polls are not changing at all. Here's Rishi not really negotiating ball skills. The chap in the white T-shirt down the end with his hand in his pocket photographing him is just like, oh, I've got to send this to my wife. Because he literally clearly can't do it. He's struggling. He's struggling. And even the boy on the left is leaning over like, you're right, mate. There's Keir Starmer thinking, this baby has more personality than me. What am I going to do? Change. And there's Angela Rayner, desperate for a ping pong table because she's got no one to play with. Flapping her things. And I think the award this week for general erection fever has to go to Ed Davey, leader of the Liberal Democrats, who really has just given it some welly this week. There he is, throwing himself in the sea. Brilliant photograph. I mean, I want to vote for him just because look at his paddle control. Stunning, Ed. Quite svelte as well. And there he is, cycling with his legs in the air down a very familiar lane in Frome. Look at him go. I mean, I hope he didn't crash.
Did he fall in?
Yeah, he fell in loads. He fell in about 35 times.
I'll tell you this, guy.
Nadia loves Ed Davey. She loves a bit of Ed.
I really like. I've got a good judge of character.
Do you want to see the photos? Look, check him out. Look.
He came on Loose. No, I saw him do. He came on Loose Women, and he is a good guy.
He's a good man. He should take us back into Europe. MeTube's developed a crush on Angela Rayner. I did. I'm not one for fashion statements, but I think Angela Rayner has a real kind of. She's got a classy kind of thing about her, and I just don't like the choice of dresses she's using. It's weird.
No, do not be sexist.
I'm not being sexist.
You do not need to comment on her.
Hang on. I've also commented on Rishi Sunak's preposterously short trousers.
Okay.
So it's just you know what I mean. I don't know whether she's trying to sort of present a more sort of conservative Angela. I don't want the conservative Angela.
Yeah.
I want the raving Angela who's listening to I don't know Groove Armada, Chemical Brothers, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, there you go. There's your news. All right, guys, lots of love. See you in about 10 minutes. What are we doing? We're doing curly. Come and explain for all of us exactly what we're doing because it's a slightly different curly cooks, mainly because I'm involved a bit more.
Yes, so Dina is at another Palestinian event today, but we're doing Palestinian food. Now, it's very like Arabic food, but it's not. It is very much Palestinian food. We're not Palestinian. My dad is Jordanian. So, we're having a go at that. But we're making some hummus, and it's a bit of a cook along. Mark, I'm going to teach Mark how to make hummus
I'm
while
looking forward
you
to
guys
this.
cook along with it.
Nice.
So you need chickpeas, tahini, lemon, and salt if you've got it in your kitchen. But if not, it's uploaded, so you can make it later.
Someone said underneath your post, I just noticed briefly, something about apparently the Lebanese use there's different tahinis.
Oh, interesting.
No, maybe-
We'll look that up.
Maybe there are
before
as
we
many
start.
different tahinis as there are things like honey. and
Well,
things
yeah,
like
I
that.
mean, there's the whole. I only really like the really light white one. I don't like the whole food.
Yeah,
one,
we
actually.
also had Teddy was here last night, and it was a really fascinating conversation about so many other different aspects of the Middle East. We're really trying to work on a way to, when he's feeling sort of like he's got the energy to talk, because his insights and his
Oh my
understanding. I
God.
mean, all of the stuff he was telling us about Egypt and the connection between Egypt and Gaza in terms of language, culture, personality, sort of all that kind of stuff. It was fascinating. Anyway, guys, I really, 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 I don't want to share this with you, but I'm going to need to belch. So I'm going to go before I do that. Anyway, have a lovely 10 minutes before I see you on the other side.